Perfect. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our last two panels of the summit. It's really nice to see you all back here, and I'm particularly excited to introduce David Powers. We're going to be hearing from him today about a documentary about an Afghan refugee, and in particular this film, which is coming out. I'm realizing this is probably backwards, but at least it's still up for us to look at. So we'll be hearing a little bit about the documentary process today. As always, as the conversation is unfolding, if you have questions that you would like to drop in the chat, feel free to do so. And David, I'll try to keep an eye on that so you can really focus on talking to us. David Powers is the founder and president of Belltower Pictures. He produced both of Belltower's feature documentaries, Heard and Anahita, Mother's Journey, which again is premiering in April at the Bird Theater here in Richmond, Virginia. He won an Emmy Award for his work on Heard, in fact, and with 50 years of experience in television and film production, he has produced and directed documentaries, musicals, music videos, and narrative films in 26 countries on 5 continents. It's just a remarkable bio, and I'm happy to hand things over to you. Looking forward to hearing from you today.
Thank you, Katie. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity to be part of this. And thanks for showing the poster. I have the other posters, but I don't have that one back there quite yet. It's still so new. I'm going to put in the chat the link to the page where you can find the trailer for this film. This is so new that we just finished it Thursday of last week. This is Saturday. Yeah, this week, Thursday of this week, and set it off. It's going to be distributed by American Public Television, and it will air on public television stations across the country. They're also doing international distribution, so it will air overseas as well, beginning in May. This has been an interesting journey to do this documentary. We started out, and I'm so grateful to the folks at Reestablish Richmond, because the idea was born in my brain when I heard Kate and some others talking about the work that you all are doing here. And I thought, well, there's probably some interesting stories there. And so we set out on the journey to try to find some of these interesting stories of refugees, primarily Afghan refugees who were settling here in Virginia. And we found some interesting stories, some very interesting people, but there was one woman that stood out, and she's not in Richmond. She's in Minneapolis, Eden Prairie, Minnesota, to be exact. And her story was just so compelling that we decided to travel to Minneapolis to interview her and to capture her story. And it turns out that that's the film. It's her story. It's very compelling. She's a mother of 5 children. Was a mother of 5 children and a police officer in Kabul, which is an unusual thing for a woman to do in Afghanistan, especially now. And when the evacuation took place in August of 21, she was at risk and gathered up her 5 children and made it into the airport, and eventually made it to Fort Dix, New Jersey. From there, met the woman who became her sponsor in Minneapolis, and she has been in Minneapolis since December of last year. Of 2021, December of 21. It's just a compelling story, and I hope you'll take a moment to look at the 3-minute trailer on that link. And we're excited to partner with the Reestablish Richmond and with the Afghan Association of Central Virginia to do the world premiere at the Bird Theater on April 23rd. And you can get tickets. I'm going to put the link to the tickets in chat. And there it is. This will be actually a fundraiser that will support the Afghan Association of Central Virginia, Reestablish Richmond, and Belltower Pictures. We are a nonprofit film production company, and so the proceeds from the ticket sales will benefit all 3 of those organizations. And we will have a Q&A after the screening. The documentary is just short of an hour in length, and then we will have a question and answer. We have some folks lined up that can talk about their similar experiences in resettling in the United States. And all the filmmakers, we will all be there as well to answer your pressing questions about shooting a film in a language that we don't speak. We did have one of the producers, Jawad Wahabzadeh, is actually from Afghanistan. He and I produced it. Martin Montgomery is the director. And Jawad, among the three of us, is the only one who speaks Farsi. And so he was able to communicate with Anahita on our behalf, conduct the interviews, and we think it's a very compelling story. And I hope you'll come and see the film. If you don't see it at the Bird, then you can catch it on VPM. We don't have an exact date and airtime quite yet. It's still a little early on their scheduling calendar, but we will have, and we will make known the day and time that it will air on VPM. In the process of doing this film, as well as Heard, we discovered anew that there are a lot of stories that we just couldn't tell ourselves. And that began the thought process 2 or 3 years ago that is there a way that we could facilitate folks in communities that have stories that they want to tell and stories that need to be heard? Can we facilitate a way for them to tell their own stories in a visual medium, in television or film? That got us to thinking about the possibility of doing a documentary filmmaking class, workshop, series, or whatever. And finally, in January of this year, we got that underway. We are partnering with another nonprofit in Richmond called Oakwood Arts. They are located up on Church Hill. They have a nice facility there. And so we're offering a 5-month documentary filmmaking workshop, one Saturday a month for 5 months. We've had the January session and we've had the February session. The March session is March 18th. All 5 of them are somewhat standalone. You don't have to go to all of them to get the benefit of what's in one of the workshops. And this is somewhat of a pilot project, test project, to learn some things about how to teach documentary filmmaking to folks who may not know anything about filmmaking at all, but just know their stories and know the stories out of their communities. So we're learning some things, and we hope to kick this off in a more formal and long-lasting format in the fall of this year. And that's why I wanted to let all of you know about it, because out of the refugee and immigrant community, there are some wonderful, compelling stories, and we would love to help folks who are in those communities tell their own stories. And it's doable. This is not brain surgery. If it were brain surgery, I wouldn't be doing it because I'm not that smart. But this is learnable. This is doable stuff. And so we want to help hand a microphone and hand a camera to folks in those communities where the stories need to be heard to help them tell those stories. I'm going to paste in the link. Sorry to flood you with links here today, but I am pasting in the chat the link to, yeah, that's it, to the information about that documentary filmmaking workshop. And I hope that you will either take advantage of it yourself or share it with folks that you know who may be interested in this. There is a charge. It's $35 per session, but based on the first 2 sessions, well over half the folks who are participating are on scholarship. And so when you go to that link, you'll see the email address of Jasmine at Oakwood Arts. And so just if you can't afford the $35, not to worry, send her an email and you can get in. We don't want that to be a barrier. We're just trying to cover the cost of the lunch and some of the honorarium for some of the speakers. We're really excited about this. We're focusing this not just on everybody in the world come to this workshop. We're trying to focus specifically on folks in the refugee and immigrant community and in the Black community on Church Hill. And we've had really good, both of the sessions have been just really invigorating in terms of the ideas for short documentaries that these folks are coming up with, and I can't wait to see what comes out of it. So that's my spiel. I've been shooting with a shotgun here, so I think I said everything I need to say, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about either the documentary or about the workshop.
David, thank you so much. This is such exciting work, and it's so amazing that this is like jumping off right now. Oh, Eric is asking, I'll just read it out in the chat so folks have it. But any chance the Q&A, I think for the screening in April, will be live streamed or recorded and shared online later? Erica lives out of the state, but would love to support. And then of course, once it's released, will there be a way for people to watch the film online, sort of outside of the VPN context?
Yeah, I don't know of any way that we can stream the Q&A from the Bird Theater. I'll look into that, but I don't think that's going to be possible. But as for the film being available online, yes, it will be. It will be available on the Belltower Pictures website, the link that I put up earlier. If you're not in the Richmond area, on wherever you are, where your PBS station will have the rights to stream it on their website, and I would imagine that most, if not all, will do that. If they don't, it will be on pbs.org on their streaming service. So yes, you'll be able to see it online, if not on the air or in the theater. We're also doing a screening. We're working with the PBS station in Minneapolis, and we're going to do a screening there. Because since we shot the film there, and Anahita's support system is there, and she's there, and so we want to get her in a theater with all the folks who have supported her and let them see it on the big screen as well.
David, I have a question for you. Did I hear you say that there's going to be another round of these 5 workshops in the fall starting up?
Yes, we don't have the specifics on that yet. We're treating these 5 as sort of a test project to learn, how we need to teach it and any adjustments we need to make. And we're already learning some of those things. And so the big idea is that we're going to offer this on pretty much a continual basis. If it's not literally continual, then to do maybe 3 times a year or something like that. And so we're targeting the fall to do the next round, but I can't tell you exactly when and what time yet. Yeah.
What have you learned so far about how you can support people who are maybe not coming from a traditional, if this is completely new to them, and maybe if there's a little bit of a language barrier, maybe?
Yeah, we're learning that pictures and music and sound are pretty much a universal language. We were amazed, not speaking Farsi, and that's what Anahita speaks. We were able to not understand everything that she was saying, but she is so expressive in the way she was telling her story that we felt engaged. And one of the things we're discovering in teaching this class is that there are some universals in the visual storytelling medium that if you know the tricks of the trade that help you tell the story, no matter the language that you're speaking. And so we're excited to see the lights come on in the students' heads when we point out some of these tricks, and they say, "Oh yeah, okay, I didn't realize I was seeing it that way, but now it makes sense."
And David, that gets at a question that Amanda has asked in the chat. It also sounds like that's something the workshop is contending with, is sort of the ethics of storytelling and working with this subject. So Amanda, I don't know if you wanted to unmute and ask, or if you'd like me to read the question out.
No, sure, I can ask it. How did you and your team make Anahita comfortable enough to share her story with a camera crew?
Yeah, that's always the challenge, isn't it? We've had it with every documentary we've done, and that was our last session with the workshop, talking about journalistic ethics and how to do the art and craft of the interview. there are a lot of different facets to it, but having someone that she could relate to, Jawad being Afghan himself and speaking the language, and Jawad had actually connected with her when she first arrived at Fort Dix in New Jersey. And so he was a translator there and had gotten to know her at Fort Dix and had stayed in touch with her after she moved to Minneapolis. So to have him sitting there asking the questions was a natural, because he could ask it in the language that she's comfortable with, and she knew him. And that's a pattern that we've followed in everything we've done, is to have somebody who is part of that culture as an integral part of the creative team in making the documentary. We think that's very important. There's a saying that well, I don't give you the history of the saying. I learned it from the disability community that says nothing about us without us. And the idea is don't tell a story about a people group or a community about which you know nothing. Have somebody on the team who is part of that community, who can speak the language and understand the issues and the nuances. Because as filmmakers, we don't know what we don't know. And so we're always very careful to have people involved in the filmmaking process that are part of the community and can connect on a very personal level.
Thanks for that, David. Amanda, that's such a rich question, and to be kind of pointing that out in the chat too. Rosemary, would you like to ask your question? I can also pass it along.
Sure. I am part of the Welcoming Greater Charlottesville community, and I know we have been looking for ways to promote community activities during Welcoming Week, which is usually September, October timeframe. And this past year, we looked to try to partner with the Virginia Film Festival to find some sort of a documentary that would be relevant and interesting. And I just wondered whether you had worked with the Virginia Film Festival in the past, or with other films of yours, or whether you had plans to work with them in the future to help promote this new film.
Yeah, we actually did screen Heard, our previous documentary. We did screen that at the Virginia Film Festival in Charlottesville. The timing is a little difficult because film festivals generally don't like to program films that have already been released. They like to be either the world premiere or in this case, Virginia premiere, or certainly if it's been on television, they don't like to program it in a film festival. And that's the case with this one. This will begin airing on public television around the country in May. And so when the Virginia Film Festival rolls around in November, it will already be out there. And so we had not considered even trying to enter it, because we are aware of that preference for film festivals. We did enter it in a couple of other film festivals, and we're waiting to hear on one in Toronto. It may or may not be accepted into that. Funny thing about film festivals, it's a particular crowd of folks that go to film festivals, and often the kind of films that film festivals are looking to program are not the kind of films that necessarily we're interested in making. We're interested in telling very human, personal stories. And it's pretty straightforward storytelling. It doesn't have a lot of the bells and whistles that a lot of the film festivals like to highlight.
David, to that end, I was going to ask you if you might describe Heard for us briefly, and just a, sort of general plot or subject for Heard.
Yeah, and you can see Heard on our website. If you go to belltowerpictures.com and click on the Heard link, you can see the full film there, as well as I think about 5 little bonus features. Heard is the stories of 5 folks who grew up in Richmond's public housing communities, and the stories of how that environment influenced their lives growing up. At the time that we shot it and released it, two of the 5 still lived in those communities. The other 3 had moved out, and so it's the story of how they managed to get out of those communities and make a life for their families, and 5 very compelling stories. And that was the experience that really got us on this idea about the workshop, because interestingly, as soon as that began airing, we were getting all these contacts, come tell my story. And they would tell us a little bit of it, and we'd say, wow, that's really compelling. But from our perspective, we didn't feel a need to do Heard 2 or, tell more of those stories, yet these stories need to get out there. And so there's a market and a need for short, compelling stories that turn a light on communities and people and situations that we know so little about generally.
Thank you so much for that. Are there other questions that are coming up for folks?
Thank you, Kate, for posting that link directly to Heard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see in the chat the RIF, Richmond International Film Festival, and again they will be in September this year, and so same situation. Heather Waters, who runs RIF, is a very good friend of mine, and we would love to screen there, and she would love to have it, but again by September it's already aired on public television.
Anything else that's coming up for people? David, it's going to be so exciting to see how these workshops continue to take shape, particularly as you're looking ahead to the fall. Thank you so much for sharing all of this work with us, and for helping us plan for April as well. It sounds like at least a few folks in the chat are going to have a really nice night out. And then those in Colorado can be very, very jealous. So
well, watch for it. It'll be on television in Colorado as well. And we've got a good start on tickets. We're still 2 months away from the screening, and we've already sold 75 tickets. So
that's amazing.
That's amazing.
I'll just, since we have a couple of minutes, ask one other question, and Helen, this might be a question for you too, but is there any plan to offer discounted tickets for people like I have so many students I'd love to send to this premiere in April? Do we have it like a discounted ticket area, or that's not quite on the horizon yet?
Kate, if you're still online, we might chime in. We haven't we don't have anything in place to do that at this point. Maybe we do. The tickets are $10 each, so it's not going to really break the bank. And I would say if there's some folks that just really want to see it, that we could probably figure out a way to make that happen.
Yeah, if it would be easy to do that through the platform, to give like a promo code the same way we did with Raves. So it is technically like easy to do. Yeah. And for those who do purchase the ticket, the proceeds are going to support nonprofits and create more work like this. So it's definitely going to a good cause.
And we can talk about that. The ticket sales actually on the platform, the Reestablished Richmond Network for Good platform. So I wasn't aware we could do that code. So yeah, maybe we should offer that code for folks who need it.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right that the $10 seems like a really, especially for a night out like this one, such a really special thing to be able to do. I'm thinking mostly with students that I have who are still figuring out their finances sometimes.
Oh yeah,
so.
$10 is a lot of money for students.
All right, well, David, thank you so much.